We don't play so much in the model game, especially in Europe, because it comes down to literally like, where are the servers of this data farms of this company? How secure is it? Is it Europe-based? Is it embedded in some Microsoft environment for the customer so that it's somehow protected via contracts and within contracts and settings within settings? So we observe it and we live it because we, of course, are utilizers of AI outside of our roles as implementers of AI.
Hi, my name is Dimitri Panici, and I'm a content creator, agency owner, and AI enthusiast. You're listening to the AI Agents Podcast, brought to you by Jotform, and featuring our very own CEO and founder, Ida Tank. This is the show where artificial intelligence meets innovation, productivity, and the tools shaping the future of work. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the AI Agents Podcast. Here, I'm with Tyrel Gidinski, a co-founder of AICX. How you doing, Tyrell?
I'm doing great, Dimitri. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Thanks for being on the show. Just to kind of kick things off, give us a little bit of a background on you and how you got into AI in general.
Yeah, it's probably going to be the least exciting part of the talk today. So obviously, since I'm sitting here in Munich, Bavaria, Germany, and speaking English to you, so I'm obviously an expat. And coming from North America, so Canada, yeah. And it's been my honor to be able to have my whole adult life in Germany. My whole work experience has been in around the world, serving German companies around the world, obviously, and in digital positions, strategy positions, right? And that's how I was raised, let's say, corporately, and it led to this whole digitalization, e-commerceization of industry, and it quickly now, of course, over the last decade, evolved into automation, machine learning, some exciting fields, and you're always then on the cutting edge, but not able to implement when you're in large corporations. And we started getting faced with AI quite early on in the companies I was a part of, and we saw with my co-founders and I actually. We saw that there was, it's not a lack of adoption, it was a lack of speed to implementation. And so we really got excited about the AI game. We were quite schooled in digitalization in general and new technologies, right? Internet of Things, moving into different digitalizations and automations. And this was such an exciting time once, of course, this bubble opened up where AI was visible for every man. Right. And so it was a huge opportunity and a huge passion project of ours then to not only jump on the AI wagon with a lot of wonderful companies and partners and customers and competitors, right? Such a beautiful market, actually. But also to offer an environment that was so new. Every single month, you're new, your products are new, your competitors are new, your customers are looking for new things. And so it's just inherently exciting. And so it's very easy to get into the market because it's so full of excitement for you and your teams.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit as well about how you kind of, because you're a co-founder, you know, and sometimes different people have their own personal journey to, I guess, getting to run their own company 100% by yourself. But how did the kind of co-founding situation occur?
So I have a lot of respect and let's say brotherhood with my co-founders, David Ritzik and Maurice Berninger. So we've worked together quite often in the past, in several different companies actually, and our journeys have been aligned for many years. And when you're founding, they say you should never found with friends, right? But if you found and your founders are friends or become friends and have knowledge that's totally complements your own, and let's say personalities that complement your own in a way that you make up for your lacks with each other, then you found a core team that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether it's AI, e-commerce, or starting a grassroots company, you can be successful if you're aligned in that way. And so there's quite a very great sharing of responsibilities and experience between us. So it was a no-brainer to do this together. Yeah, the three of us at the beginning, and so we very much complement each other. And of course, the early team that joined up, we don't, of course, they're not founders by name, but but we're very inclusive with our early employees. And so you could say we have every new employee for the last 2 years was a co-founder in some aspect, right? So we're not alone. It's not an authoritarian experience. It's very much a sharing and very much sometimes giving up of responsibilities and taking things on where we decide who is the best one person or two people team for certain topics. And so we're very fluid that way. And it's been a fun journey until now, experiencing that together.
And how many people do you have working at your company now?
So now we're based around, we're fluctuating around 10 at the moment. It's a very healthy, comfortable position to be in. And this, of course, with a whole arsenal of agency and freelance behind you. But we have 10 cores and managing different focal roles from product to customer success, consulting, and then, of course, product management and technical areas. So
cool. Well, getting into kind of what y'all are doing, first and foremost, the hard thing nowadays, I know, is to kind of navigate through everything that's out there option-wise when it comes to AI. What would you say is the primary customer that you are going after, and what necessarily you're solving problem-wise in the world of AI right now?
So our ICP, so our target customer at this point, right? So 2025, Q4 is very, very clear. It's the German small, medium enterprise and some larger enterprise companies. That is our core target group out of organic reasons, right? So these were our first types of customers. We do have a couple smaller customers who we love and cherish, and they give us very big challenges with very small bills. Right, this is a very exciting experience. However, our target customer is definitely small, medium enterprises in industry across different automotive industry, consulting industry, and the insurance industry, of course. Yeah, so they're very much industry driven, because with these types of industries, you see two things happening. You either, because now we're probably in the second phase for these kind of companies when it comes to the adoption of Gen AI or the new AI, is where they've tried it themselves. Sometimes they've tried it themselves. They haven't established digitalization core or digital maturity that they have been able to spend the last year sort of spending hundreds of thousands of euros investing in their own abilities. And you see very quickly that they are not software companies, right? And AI is another software. It has to be driven as such. It is a new technology. And of course, you cannot take a company's IT department and give it an AI head and de facto create some AI solution that will work and be competitive in the market, especially with all the players like us coming up and offering something at far lower prices, far better returns, and just something that fits the bill a lot better. So our customers are often in the second wave, and we can come in quite easily there and sort of save the story. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of everything you've learned. So we offer sort of a segue to a successful adoption and reinvigoration or lighting the spark for the AI wave. There's customers, of course, who have been hesitant until now, just because it's not a part of their business model. Their digitalization consists of an IT administrator and some softwares that they purchase and know nothing about, other than just having a process owner maybe. And these are mainly the small, medium-sized enterprises. And there you really have to light the spark. There you have to really battle against what we call mushrooming, where every employee sort of has these one-to-one relationships with AI. And you need to create this one-to-N relationship with AI and the whole mass of their employees to get the biggest chance of adoption possible, to bring them the best value. And so these are really the two entry stages you get, and very top-down driven entries into these kind of companies.
Interesting. And, it's kind of, I guess, hard at this point to determine what your needs are as a company without maybe having a discussion, with somebody who might know better. Because a lot of companies, I feel like, are in a position where it is so, I feel like people are still living in the ChatGPT, asking it questions like it's Google with a response to it. With the level of agentic improvements over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 months since we started the podcast. What have you been doing as a company to kind of keep up with that and what you're offering as well?
So we were very lucky actually that we were a part of the agent game and agentic game when it, of course, when RAG was still the biggest acronym in the world at that point, right? So this lived probably about 3 to 4 months long in the
Yeah.
enterprise world. And we were already saying this standard, right? This is augmented generation, augmented search. This is nothing new. Um, uh, it's just putting an AI on top of it instead of a human or a little search window. And so we were early to push the agent. At that time, it was the agent being a insulation layer between a human and software, and sort of eliminating these mass amounts of front ends you have to deal with as an employee. And we were very lucky that is where that's where the technology went. Of course, it probably a year from now or 2 years from now, we will all have to have adopted by then to some sort of new era, but it still is very much the now. And we were very early on able to. That's why our proprietary system doesn't rely on MCP or things that were sort of created in the last year, because we built our own routine mechanisms embedded in our proprietary AICX HEART engine, to embed sort of this workflow technology connected with systems and connected with different tools and external sources, and the AI agent being the speaking layer of this, as a colleague or an assistant, balancing between these two roles, and early on. And so we were encapsulated different from this whole MCP way because we had already created that for enterprises in a secure way, right? It was very important for us being in Europe to adhere to these security norms. And we could rely on these past MCP movers or even workflow builders that are very common for single entrepreneurs in the market. This was not ready for enterprise level integrations. So we were lucky. We started very early, and we called it out with some of our customers, and it made us look very good. And we were then gained a lot of trust because 3 to 4 months later, they all came back from Christmas break, and this was the thing happening, and they didn't have to catch up because they had already invested in a tool with us, and it brought rewards. So
yeah, MCP has been something that even I took way too long to kind of like jump on the train of being in the position I'm in. Could you kind of describe some of the ways that it changes the game for those business owners that are a little bit confused as to what it is? They think it's like some, sometimes I feel like when new terms come out and new types of models come out and new protocols come out, it's the same thing all over again, right? It goes in their mind of like, I don't even know where to start with this. Like the new, like for example, 2 days ago, or not 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago with Anthropic, and then today with Claude, you had agent SDKs are released. It's going to be the same thing. They're like, what is it? I don't know what to do. And I'm in that stage right now. So
yeah,
for MCPs.
I would tell anybody when something like this, the first danger is when something comes out as an acronym before we even know what the technology is behind it, right?
Thank you.
It's
Yes.
a barrier. Yeah, it creates a barrier, but it's a healthy barrier for the people who are the first proprietors of it, the ones that understand the technology already. It kind of gives them a power, right? So RAG, very, very simple topic, gave us power because you knew what RAG was. I mean, what is RAG? Back in the day, it was SWOT. What is SWOT when you're in the marketing world, right? So putting an acronym in something makes it somehow more valuable. It's a fallacy. MCP is just a short term of somebody choosing 3 words to describe something and then using the first letter to describe it, right? Sounds very cool. Sure does, but it's nothing other than. And the funny thing is, when a new thing comes out, I adamantly suggest anybody act like one of my children, maybe a 6-year-old, and go to your whatever agent or whatever model you trust and ask it to explain this to you in these terms, or visually, even better
like
now.
A baby, yeah.
Explain it visually like a baby. And when MCP, just before we even looked into what it was back in the day, obviously once we heard it, we said, oh, we know what this is. We're already doing this. To a certain extent, it's just a wrapper, right? To call something you want to build different logics or incurred logics that deterministically say how an AI agent or how a flow of knowledge and response should go. And so inherently you give it then this MCP service gives it this option to say, I have one interaction layer and I want it to interact with many different possibilities or tools or whatever. So you could just imagine it like back in the day when there were no cell phones and no, when the phone calls were like you call the operator up and she switches you through to whoever you need to get through, whether it's a utilities company or your uncle down in Florida, right? So this is pretty much all it does. And you can recreate this in many different ways using software and using your own proprietary knowledge if you have these abilities. But many people don't, and you don't have to have that nowadays because there are MCP servers and MCP routines and wrappers that give you the interface to do this without having any knowledge about the technology. So it is a danger. It is a danger for security because MCP can be a very dangerous technology. Inherently in enterprise scene for individuals, probably not so much, but it's very, very difficult to protect when MCP when it comes to inherently incessantly dangerous elements already in the protocol, or of course routines that are being run without human in the loop, right? So it creates quite a big gap, and that's why we don't play with it yet in that instance, because we can recreate it in a safe, secure environment. So.
Yeah, that's I think you touched on a lot of things here. I chuckled a little bit because big fan of knowing the list of logical fallacies. I would like to find, maybe it's not a formal logical fallacy, but I want to make one up for the acronym fallacy. Like just because it's got an acronym doesn't mean it's like cool. It actually is better than what people do honestly perceive things better via acronym, and it's kind of annoying. And I also laughed because have you ever seen the show Silicon Valley?
Oh yeah.
SWAT. Right. When you said SWAT, my brain, I was like,
exactly. I remember the days when we get paid to analyze a SWAT.
Oh God, that show is Jared just like, I think we should SWAT that. Yeah, exactly. It's such a funny show.
We actually acronymized our engine, right? So we have many different products, faces. The engine is the heart, and we call it HEART. It's an actual acronym, but it's 5 letters long, so nobody remembers the words that build up the acronym. You need to have it shorter for the human brain nowadays. But once we mention that and show the acronym, people get all excited, and that's a big 50% selling point right there, just because the engine HEART is actually an acronym. So, a very useful tool in marketing. I don't toss it out the window, but when it comes to understanding something, don't be disillusioned.
Yeah, that's a very good piece of advice. And I think when it comes to MCPs overall, could you speak a little bit more to the security aspect there? Because we haven't quite touched on that. And maybe how you guys can help people navigate through those waters as well, because obviously I want to keep it about you, but I hadn't quite heard that concern that much, but I could see it.
I mean, we don't want to create any kind of fear mongering. We definitely want to promote.
No, that's okay. Yeah, but I mean, hey, you're in the EU. I mean, with data security,
so yes. we're insuring against a potential risk, right? So not
exactly.
This is different than an imminent risk. Especially in the tech world nowadays, it's all about what could happen if somebody intentfully has malicious intent with much planning and much skill. These things happen every day, and we protect against them with menial technologies. So it's not, but in the enterprise setting, we have to secure against this. And so there are inherently 3 main dangers. And of course, there are ways to block this. And there are MCP guards and MCP keys and MCP security now. Obviously, it's an industry in itself, security. So if there is a place where hackers or malicious content or intent can play a role, there is somebody that's going to help you stop that, right? So luckily, there are the white knights in technology and also in the market. So don't be that afraid. It's a wonderful technology. But for enterprise uses, there's inherently with MCP, there can be in the protocols, there can be also already in the inception of this connector could be some malicious intent that could be latent and later activated. But this is in any technology the case when you activate it. There's also a big issue with MCP is a loss of control and validation, right? So when you start a routine, you have literally no control over the outcome. It's not different with many models and nowadays in any routines, but that's why we chose a different route, or let's say an alternate route, is because the human in the loop becomes too robust. It's not MCP anymore. It's not leveraging the technology. And so this means that the outcome can actually be malicious without intent, right? So you're creating then a negative outcome just because you gave the wrong type of command and interpreted it wrong. And you have no control at that point because you've already given it. And MCP also opens the door that there could be routines run without you actually starting them. Yeah. So this is so action without intention. And so these are three main issues, easily solvable, right? Again, easily solvable, but anybody nowadays can put a wrapper on technology, whether it's an LLM, whether it's an MCP server, whether it's N8N, you can put a wrapper on it, sell it to companies. And of course, you're creating this negative experience. You're creating an insecure experience. So we're very careful about that, that we don't promote it because that would create fear about the market where it doesn't need to be that, right? So.
Yeah, very cool. Well, on a more output and like practical note, I want to talk about some of the kind of customer success stories that I've seen on your website. For example, I see one that was a generative AI powered market analysis that saved up to 14,000 man hours manually, which is crazy. The results here, wild. And I just kind of wanted to talk about the practical methodology that you kind of take your customers through in order to kind of achieve something like that, right? Obviously, the outcome is there, the challenges are there, but how was that? Maybe you don't have to be specific on obviously who it is, etc. But what does that look like?
Yeah, so all of our customers are protected by NDAs. So many of the things we bring out are under their brand. That's one of the marketing problems we have as a company, as most of the stuff is marketed, not as our own. But nevertheless, so about these kinds, so this specific case is actually old, and I love that it's old, right? So old in the sense of like a few months, right? So it's like, which means
That's not that old, man.
that is a point in time where this KPI was created, and of course this KPI has grown, and that's a very important fact because there's different metrics you can look at for success, and this is a point that's very important to our industry, regardless of being in Europe or being around the world, for enterprises, right? So is how do I measure the success of what I'm doing with AI? And we can put out a lot of wonderful, very exciting numbers like that. And that is exciting when you think about it, how many man hours that is, how many days that would be for somebody to actually accumulate that. You add a euro value or a dollar value on that with a salary knowledge, then you know how much you saved, right? Or how much time a person has actually spent to focus on something that's more engaging, more attuned to the human mind, creative, collaborative, interacting with another human, rather than doing some toil work, right? So content creation or email answering or things like this that we call toil, where it's just every day, like sowing the seeds and plowing the fields kind of corporate world. You've eliminated that, and you've opened up this vacuum for them to actually have a bigger impact. That's not measurable, only in that term that you just mentioned. So that's employee time gained. That's a KPI we deliver. And why this is important is not the amount of it, because it's the size of the company compared to that, which is important, which tells us then, are we talking about 45,000 people in the company, or are we talking about 800 people in the company? That number for this company, in fact, is quite successful number because this company had 925 people in it. I remember the exact case, right? It's one of the cases I worked on with a colleague. And it's this brings really warmth to our heart, because this is our focus as a company. Is we figured out that and every company should adopt this. This is free to any competitor, right? The key is in adoption. Right now we use it as a USP. I hope it's not a unique SP in the future, but it's purely adoption and transparency. And so you mentioning that number and that having exciting emotion to it for boards that are deciding on budgets, for employees that are deciding to use something, That is an engaging factor that helps the success and the use and proliferation of AI within a company. And that's important because without the use of it, it is useless, right? It brings no value. It can be as, even if it's automated, it can be as amazing a solution as you want to deliver. If nobody actually adopts it and interacts with it, it's just another SAP, it's just another HubSpot that can sit there and not be used and still sit there and cost you money. And so our goal is to gain adoption, right, to a certain percentage, and a certain retention, which means adoption over time, right, is a very important factor. And then you attach metrics onto that, like cost or like interactions or like increased human interaction because of your tool and decreased system to human interaction, which is redundant time spent with you at a laptop where you should be spending it socializing, especially nowadays. It's very important in the digital age. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. Sorry, I'm getting an echo now when I talk.
Yeah, you got rid of. Oh man, that's okay. I keep adjusting the volume. It's all good.
Okay. It is very interesting how the market continues to shift, the needs for companies continue to shift, and also their level of knowledge of what they can do continues to shift. And I guess it might be a fair question because obviously you're in the market of software, you're in the market of consulting as well. What are your thoughts on how the future may look in regards to companies internally having like AI teams? And I mean AI teams in the sense that they're, prompt engineers, had people heading up departments and stuff like that, versus obviously what you guys are able to do with helping create and build things for them from a consulting standpoint.
So you mean AI being the department or AI in?
Oh no, actually, yeah. So it is a double question. To be fair, I was going to do a follow-up afterwards. I was going to say first, people at the company who have AI knowledge and kind of like execute and help make the company more effective, and then a byproduct of that being AI departments, literally where the AI would be the department.
Yeah, we've actually done a study on this and followed up a study done by Gardner when it comes to the humans adopting the knowledge to implement AI themselves. And so that's a part of our consultant work, is to ensure that, I mean, of course, our tools hopefully still bring value and will grow and have use in the future, but you need to make sure that the human AI literacy is increasing. We have a bit of a dichotomy there. We have a bit of two games playing with each other there, because our intent and our actual products are created in such that the human does not have to inherently have a training or knowledge and go to training in order to interact with it. It has to be as human-like as possible and as human in the loop as possible and as conversational as possible. It might be less of an automated routine, but it's a more human and comfortable and realistic routine where you're dealing with the AI like a colleague. So it gives the need for the human to have prompt engineering, or the employee to have prompt engineering or some experience in what is MCP, what I'm actually doing here, what are the boundaries of what I can do, or what can I do? We always have this funny vision with the customers and the employees when we interact with them, where it says, you're coming to an AI, and if you don't know what AI can do today, yesterday is old, what it can do today, because it's always new. If you're not in the loop and the AI is not continually training you, or somebody is training you, then you're sitting practically in front of a meeting like you and I here, and you're just sitting there staring at each other, not saying anything, because you don't know what each other can do. Like, what is your role? What is your job? What is your capabilities? Can you even speak my language? If you imagine on human factors, it's like us sitting in a meeting and just staring at each other going, I don't know where to start. And that is a problem. There's a shame barrier there. There's a knowledge barrier there. Fortunately, AI interaction happens most often privately, one-on-one, human and AI. So there should be no shame barrier, but there still is psychologically, right? So it is important to understand what's happening. Unfortunately, you have social media, you have many sources of information which are giving this impression that everybody's already rockets away from you in implementation. And or I have the key to using AI, and you can quit your job or do a 1-day work week or something like this, and it starts to create this sort of barrier where people that haven't even entered it yet and are just using a company GPT and they're still
Yeah.
chatting in and figuring out what is temperature and what is a prompt structure and one word prompts, things like this. And so you get this barrier. And so what we do is try to break this barrier, right? And the human needs to train themselves as always and refresh. But we try to make it also there's a group of employees out there in the market that are maybe a generation older than us or even two, where this is like back in the day when we adopted PowerPoint and emails and social media for marketing and things like this, which are now norm. It's just for them amazingly difficult, and they have 10 years left in their work life, and now they're confronted with being obsolete. And so we try to socially, we see it as our responsibility to be able to bring these people with in a way that is the same as if you just hired a new colleague that joined and said, "Hey, look, I can do a job you never knew anybody could do. Now talk to me about it, and I'll help you through this and guide you, and then eventually you become proficient." Right. So
Hmm.
good question. Yeah. So which led to AI, which is the exciting one for me when you want to talk about AI agents becoming their own department, or let's say having a role in a department, right? And it's not the future because we're already there. So
Yeah. Yeah. So would you say that it's basically we're already there? It's just a matter of, well, because I think it's all adoption is kind of is
perfect word.
difficult, more than capability. That's something constant trend I feel like I'm seeing on the interviews I have is, yeah, well, tools are there, right? The capabilities are there. I mean, Sonnet 4.5 releases the other day,
Yeah.
and I don't know what your experience has been with that model, but that feels pretty groundbreaking. But I saw a really funny, it was on X the other day. It was like a graphic that said OpenAI comes out with best groundbreaking model, Anthropic comes out with best groundbreaking model, Grok comes out with best groundbreaking model, Gemini comes out with best groundbreaking model, repeat, it's kind of the cycle we're in.
So yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I of course every time a new model comes out, you spend a certain amount of time and play with it, or somebody in the team does, and we share with each other and do little video snippets and demos to each other. It's exciting. It's a fun thing. It's like reading a fantasy genre or something. You figure out new things. Um, and a lot of hobbies are now based in AI usage, whether it's writing a book or developing a game or an
Sure.
app for something in your private life, right? So obviously there's so much out there and so many wrappers around all these awesome models. But the models themselves, we don't play so much in the model game, especially in Europe, because it comes down to literally like where are the servers of this data farms of this company. How secure is it? Is it Europe based? Is it embedded in some Microsoft environment for the customer so that it's somehow protected via contracts and within contracts and settings within settings? And so we observe it and we live it because we, of course, are utilizers of AI outside of our roles as the implementers of AI, and we also need to be on the cutting edge if there's something cutting edge comes. The development of it and the, let's say, the bandwidth of it, especially also with like the putting it up in your browsers and things that Anthropic's doing, which is really, really great and dangerous, but great. It's always dangerous and great. That this, it just becomes an example of how wonderful the industry is. And it's also an anecdote to say, look, that's great, but this too will pass, right? So in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something else will happen that's groundbreaking. And the biggest goal for people in the industry of taking the technology and giving to somebody to use, whether it's an individual or whether it's a company like us, and any employee in the company, it's all about just finding those nuggets of you don't have to develop this stuff yourself so much. All right. So it's probably 50% yourself, 50% market. You just have to find that nugget that serves your customers best. And of course, this new cloud model is wonderful. It doesn't serve our customers at all. Right. So when it comes to our AICX Heart and the engine and the already routines and integrations we're offering and seamless integration into their existing communication streams, there is no improvement. In fact, for example, when GPT came out with 5, we didn't launch it because exactly, it was out of control, right? So it was wonderful, but token usage was off the charts, right? It was abysmal. Yeah, the cost. I mean, if we for where we sell tokens, it's a great market, but we have to be true to our customers and say, look, this is going to explode your cost by, you know, by 20% or 30% is ridiculous. Yeah. And also the responses were not as good as they are if you're just doing it directly in, ChatGPT interface. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, it's wonderful for its purposes, but you have to again be a prompt engineer, and you have to again understand how to iterate and to communicate with it. It's less intuitive in that, although it's trying to be more intuitive by sort of channeling, but it failed in that, although it's very powerful, wonderful. So we stay very often with For Omni with many of our customers because it offered a solid and what they needed result, right, as one of the base models. And it was very in the Microsoft environment, which is very trusted. It was a great partnership there. So
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I think being true to your customers is good. Honestly, kind of is depressing about that launch was it was so like everyone was unnecessarily hyped about it even before it was like properly rumored. Like the early stage rumors of like, oh, this is what GPT-4 is. What's GPT-5 going to be like? Yeah. And then I remember utilizing it when it came out and just clearly seeing. I typed a question, trying to get a response. And when it was at that point of it's deciding between like thinking, not thinking, and the pro version, like it's auto step. The non-thinking version, the like base version, was just spitting out hot garbage. It was amazing. I'd never seen anything so bad out of a model in a while. Because when I pressed enter, the concern for me was like, wow, I saw a response the second I pressed enter. That's not a good sign. Yeah. I'm like, I know we're not there. I know we're not there, TechWise yet. I was like, I know we're not in like nanosecond response time. So it just spat out something way too quickly, which is always the concern when a new model comes out where they have to do minor tinkering.
I love how we built so much distrust to fast answers, although that was what we were searching a year ago, right? In instantaneous responses, and it better be perfect. But now it's like if it comes too fast, you're like, this is not perfectly put it, like something's not right here. Yeah. Well, even for LLM or for some model, it's just not right. We see sometimes. I mean, we're working. We don't call it latency anymore. The response times are between, you get seconds, and then you get some things which are a minute, maybe max a minute, right? So there's not such complex routines that are needed with all the workflows we have. Much of it's buffered within the software. So 1 minute may be the longest, and that's a long time. If you're working and if you're trying to have a conversation within a minute is a long time, but the responses are amazing, right? So the responses are structured. The responses take exponentially more time to integrate to the human factor, right? So I have to read something, or I have to portray it, I have to understand something that's been given to me. And this factor is for us to understand what's been given to us after 1 minute or 30 minutes, sometimes with huge complex routines, which aren't in our software needed. For us to internalize that and use it as humans, it takes far longer. So we shouldn't worry so much about response time. Sometimes you don't give a colleague something, and if they come back in a half hour, you go, "Well, great." No, you're talking days. So we're already exponentially better. So we have to just adjust our perception of what is the norm and what's right.
That's a very good comment. Yeah, I agree with you completely. There's a lot of issues right now, I feel like, with expectations versus reality. And almost I feel like unnecessarily high expectations at times for things. But then like when it reaches a certain level, we get a little. I have a question specifically about agents and its impact on the workforce, because I think it's an interesting answer I'm getting from everybody. And obviously, since you guys are in the world of agents, it'd be reasonable to ask, what is your thoughts on kind of the expectations, so to speak, of people who are working as business owners or working as managers, and they're saying, hey, I don't really think we're in a place where this 90% accurate agent can do this role. Mm-hmm. My thought initially is when I hear that is a laughing moment, just kind of a tongue-in-cheek comment. Find me an associate who does stuff 90% of the time correctly, and I will pay them to become a manager. because that don't happen. So kind of tongue in cheek, obviously there's the person who ends up getting promoted, and that's the point. But what are your thoughts on that kind of dynamic of there's this expectations of, like you said, AI, their actions should kind of be perfect at this moment?
We're so I'm gonna contradict you there, which is it's inherently a software, right? So it is artificial, yeah, or
Exactly.
we call them like the synthetic employees, right? So yes, if you compare it to a human, the human is going to be exponentially less accurate, less consistent. We get sick. We are constantly changing. Our opinions change. Our knowledge changes. Our capacity as people changes as we get older. Right. So health span. We have many variables that affect us. I mean, technology does as well. Right. Would be a cool diagram to compare. Right. So looking at a health span of a human and health span of an AI agent. But maybe we'll do that. We should have the bar very high. We need to
Sure.
continue to have the bar high, but it should not affect our customers and the employees that are customers' ability to adopt. So like we said, if this business owner, let's say it's for us relevant, so maybe it's a CEO of a company, he has 900 employees or 1,000 employees, and he doesn't believe in something because he tried it out and anecdotally says, look, the accuracy, we had it measured, my guys have looked at it, it's not accurate, the answers are not great. I think Joe and John and Sally could do it better. Yeah. Not true, obviously, right? To a certain extent, the things that this AI does is it can do it better than a human can do it to that extent. But what the beautiful thing we have to understand is, and this is very important for us when we talk about adoption, is there is always going to be a human in the equation. So don't compare them together like apples to apples, right? The AI is a tool to get an outcome, right? The AI is a tool to, whether it's automation, whether it's human loop sub-automation, whether it's a human thought processing, right? So working with the AI as a colleague and assistant, or whether it's doing toil, right? It is a tool to get an outcome. Now, like any software, if you don't set it up right, if you don't use it right, it will have issues, right? So if you enter, we have this commonly speaking, I'm not even sure if it's in North America. We use it a lot in Europe. Crap in, crap out. I'll be very formal in how I say it. There's a very common IT term, right? So the data you put in, if it's not good, the bad data will come out, bad results. With humans is the same, with technology is the same. We have to hold a high bar on what we expect can be possible, but we have to always understand that we are a factor in that success as humans. We are not removed from the success of the AI, right? So we talk about humanization of AI. So we are part of the conversation. We are part of the input. We are part of the setup of it and the vetting and acceptance of that tool. And so if it's not working correctly, it's a software. It's what makes it better than, not better, what makes it more efficient to apply to that case than an employee is you can improve it quite easily. So you can have some technically medical activity you do to that AI and testing and improvements, which we constantly do to improve that specific case for that use. And it's always going to be needed, and it's always a part of it. Just like we have a whole industry about training employees, we have a whole industry in ourselves, or a whole focus area that's about improving the adoption, improving the output of whatever agents we give to the customer, and this will have to continue. And they're not all knowing, they're not all capable. They're as capable as we allow them to be, and that's a very safe factor we still have nowadays, luckily.
Where do you think the movement will be in regards to capabilities? Obviously, MCP has been a big breakthrough in, excuse me, relative capabilities and connection to tools. Because I remember thinking in the last year, basically, we were kind of being limited, not so much by compute or like reasoning at some point. Like when O3 came out, I was pretty convinced that from a reasoning standpoint, we were getting close to the average, employee to some respect. And we just needed connectability to different aspects of tools, because APIs were kind of limited in some ways, right, to connect to it. And then MCPs came out and they were able to kind of interact free flowingly with the different endpoints at once, so to speak. So where do you feel like the capabilities will continue to expand and improve? And because I guess I believe it kind of still stands. We're kind of reaching a level of, 4.5 sonnet thinking, for example, kind of crushes what O3 was doing when I would have probably been comfortable with its level of reasoning already. Where do you think we kind of max out on agentic ability to interact with day-to-day work and how it'll impact the job market, so to speak?
There, you said it right there. Interact, right? That's the key word. So there is on the horizon. There's only, in my opinion, there's only one outcome that is like the 100% achievement rate. Is seamless interaction. So we use the word seamless interaction. We mean it in an enterprise context, right? So wherever you have input, whether it's text, voice, video, recorded, pre-recorded, in the background, wherever you have interaction, naturally as a human, to other humans and to the regular tools, AI has to be integrated there, right? And it has to be functional. It has to have context. It has to be cross interaction layer knowledgeable. It means the long-term memory, short-term memory, biases that you create through the interactions have to remain, whether you're texting it in a chat window, which we really don't approve of, versus in your Google Chat or your Teams or your Slack or your wherever you would also communicate with humans. It should be there with you. And
sure.
So, and seamlessly, email, whatever, meetings, join meetings, things like this. So all of these interaction layers, once they are covered, then we get into a point where it becomes apparent the only boundary is the two-dimensional screen. So real world, kind of in a physical meeting with you. We already see some hardware tools coming out. There's some big fails there in the market as well, where it should be with you at all times. You're in your car, you're in the office, you're in the cafe, you're wherever you work, you're in the park. It could literally be anywhere. You're in space, flying to Mars. I don't know where all the environments will be in the future, but if you want a seamless, let's say the most pinnacle of interaction, it has to be everywhere with you consistently. It's a scary thing for some people, but if you want the best possible outcome of performance, that's where it is. It goes so far. I mean, when we're not talking about the Neuralink or any kind of connections like that, obviously.
A guy just controlled his arm today.
Exactly. Beautiful stuff for those who need it, right? So please, people, maintain your autonomy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
those who would not need to benefit from that to have a normal life. But that's interaction is the main key, right? So we can develop the softwares, the routines, the things that are hidden as much as possible. What we are going to continually get away from, this is not a new message. We preached, I think we did the first time we did a white paper and then a presentation to a customer on this was November last year, whereas we said the interaction between a human and a software interface, which I love software interfaces. They're beautiful. They give us thousands of options. We're using one right now to talk to each other. And to be humans need it because we need some sort of visual interaction sometimes when we're dealing with information, especially structured information. And it's this interaction with softwares, right? So enterprise softwares, email softwares, things that generate content, things that generate an outcome, CRM systems, things where structured data lives. The interaction with the human in many of these different layers will not exist anymore. It won't be required. The interaction will be as we are interacting right now and exchanging information, and you are enriching your mind and I'm enriching my mind through this interaction. The same thing will happen in the interaction with a system, with me, the AI in the system, and it will enrich the information. It will give me back the information. Where we're working on right now, which is for us one of the next levels, and it's very fun to get into, is when the AI becomes, I'll be careful with this word, to a certain extent self-aware.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So technologically self-aware. So very, very rudimentarily. We're not talking AGI here. We're not talking consciousness. We're talking can retrieve information that has been shared with it in the past and can retrieve this from many different modules, right? And from other people interacting with the same agent, right? At the same time sometimes, because this can happen simultaneously, that the agent is aware of what's happening within it. It's aware of its own KPIs. How successful am I? How much am I helping you? When we talked about time saving and time spent and adoption, the agent will know its own KPIs. We don't need a dashboard to display this information for a human then to understand it and then convey it to their manager. These steps will no longer be needed. They'll be possible, but not needed. They might be fun and anecdotal and have a place some in our culture, but efficiently, they won't be needed anymore.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair point. My last question would be, and this is kind of more of a fun one. What has been, I'll say mine, and then you can talk about what your favorite one has been, maybe personally and then professionally as the what you guys have been able to do. What's been kind of your favorite AI capability that you've seen on anything you're doing in your personal life, and then secondarily as a company, what your favorite one has been? I'll say mine real quick. There's a big list right now of AI capabilities that are cool, but there's a tool that I just found out about called crisp.ai. Have you heard of this yet? Yeah. I found out about this on a recent interview. I was like, this is awesome. Like you're like, oh, great. I can be on a call and not deal with me being in a coffee shop enjoying it and me feeling like it's not that loud in here, but it sounds pretty loud to them. I was on the phone with my girlfriend the other day. She's on a train and, people are like 6 to 10 feet away from her, but somehow like the way that the aerodynamics of this dang train work with the bouncing, I can hear them louder than she can hear them. Mm-hmm. They're like just talking about their day. And I'm like, are they like eating your microphone? She's like, no. Yeah. Crisp AI will solve this problem. It isn't voice isolation while you're on a call and transcribes. Amazing. That's my new favorite thing. What is your favorite thing personally right now? And what's your favorite thing that you've been able to do for customers or a customer?
Personally, being a founder, not being an employee anymore, even if it was an executive position and having, being a father of triplets, right? So having little family running around, and the whole balance of my co-founders and I is to cherish and honor our lives, our private lives as well as the business life, even though we are startup founders, which is a crazy life and full of work continually. We lost touch with my creative side. So I was a big fantasy reader and I used to be a big gamer back in the day when I had time. And what it's not a specific tool. I obviously use one of our agents for this, but then I always go back to Anthropic with the latest models, right? So they do a wonderful thing. Is writing my own stories. I don't have time to jump in and sit and if I read a book, it's something on AI or industry or business or thought processes or longevity, right? To improve my efficiency. So the creative part of my life was cut to zero. It was all my children, my wife, my family, my dog, my co-founders, my customers, our business, and our employees, and that was the world. And there was no space for Tyrell anymore. Let's see the fun things that I enjoyed doing as a carefree young individual. And so I found that again very recently, actually, where instead of opening up a book or trying to find a book, buying a book, getting it on my Kindle or wherever, Audible, I started writing my own books. And in that process, it is exactly like reading a story, but the AI, I developed an AI protocol or just like a master prompt that I use, and then I start the story and I spend a couple days on a story, and I get character building, world building, lore building, and actually write a whole. Then I write scenes, and then you get into it, and you can spend hours if I had them, some sleepless nights, right, where you just have enjoyment, and that's been my latest very personal, right? So not connected to the business at all, epiphany, where I said, I can just, who needs Brandon Sanderson or J.R. something right now? You got your own brain, which is going to trick you with AI every time, creating a whole new environment and world. So that has been a fun one. And I can do that at 15-minute increments, maybe next to my meditations or something. And that helps keep me in tune with my creative side. Yeah.
Very cool. And then what about at your company?
So business-wise, company-wise. So regardless, I mean, we could talk about the human effect of it and just the amazing things that my team is surprising me with, right? So I'm surrounded by people far smarter than myself and humbled every day with what they come up with. Um, but when it comes to what we deliver the customer, right? So some things I'm very proud about, and one is, like you said, when we come to interaction, and we talked about the human employee, AI employees. So and the impact it's having in not replacing people. So I was really, really excited about the acceptance of an AI workforce. So I'm taking that name from a customer who named it this, right? So it's not our proprietary name for it. They're using AICX HEART to create not just a general agent plus a couple specific agents for different departments. They're creating an AI workforce that focuses on everything from the wellness of the employee, teamwork, everybody gets their own individual assistance. And this, it is a bit far-fetched and far out there. It requires precise, not only the technology has to fit, but the storytelling and about it within the company so that it's adopted, that it's accepted, that it's also not seen as a threat. And this has been done masterfully, and we'll see where it goes. It's still in development. It's quite been developed until now quite far, but it's a wonderful journey. And to do this, you need to have preemptive agents that are predictively reaching out to you like colleagues would, with certain sets of things that happen in a company, and it has access to this information. So that it can not autonomously, but act as a colleague to initiate usage and action and preparation and helping you like a colleague, rather than just sitting there like I said before, waiting there, twiddling its thumb, staring at you, waiting for you to say something. But what do you say, and how do you start, and where does it go, and when do you do it? The AI does it for you, and understands that moment where it needs to then reach out, and this proactivity is what we call it, is quite groundbreaking for us. I hope others are doing it in the market. I hope all these things are always happening. That means that technology develops faster, but we're really proud that we're the only ones currently in our market right now that are doing it. And it's a lot of fun, right? So it's fun to see. There's lots of mistakes that happen, obviously. AI reaches out and the person said, don't interrupt me, as a human would do as well. But it's such a beautiful moment because it's increased adoption and awareness, and it's a beautiful journey. Can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, I can't say where to go. I can't wait to see where it goes either. It does sound like a beautiful journey, and kudos to you for making it happen. And I really appreciate you for making the time today. Is there anything else that you'd like to say as we close this out about your company, or any other thoughts you have on things in general?
It's always, we always take an approach where, of course, everything should be a plug. We are entrepreneurs. We are trying to improve our positive footprint in the market, right? So I could preach about our product, but I think we've done that enough. It's always a challenge out there to our competitors and our partners and our customers to take a serious look at one, security, one, transparency, treat it with respect, as we do, so that we can keep that trust with our customers and future customers. It's very important. You're part of this industry. We're part of this industry. We have to safeguard the sanctity, let's say, and trust in it, and not get too carried away with just trying to be the best thing and the flashy thing. And sometimes it has to be solid and has to work, and sometimes that takes a bit of time to build that. But so it's always a shout out for us to do that, and don't forget about the employee. Every employee is an individual person out there in the world. So we don't do B2C, we do B2B, but that is every employee at every company that we serve. So it's, in the end, it's the people that adopt it. The CEOs just buy it, but the people adopt it, right? So it's very important for us.
Very
Keep
true.
that in mind.
That's it. Yeah.
It's a part of our heart. Yeah. Also the name of our product. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you for being on this episode. Make sure to go check out everything that Tyrell and the team are doing at AICX.de. That's AICX.de. Thank you again to Tyrell. And I will appreciate it also if each of you, including Tyrell, would leave a like, comment, review, all that kind of stuff for us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The more reviews that we get, the more people can learn about cool agent companies like AICX. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.